We're not going to kid ourselves and think that somehow we will ultimately house everyone who needs a home. That's not going to happen. It doesn't. But that doesn't matter. The practical consideration is how many of these folks can you house? And I think we can certainly do it much faster than we've been doing it in the past. But if you just think about the folks that we're housing now, 1,500 people, roughly 2/3 of those have been on the street previously. So we would estimate 1,000 of them would be right back there if we weren't housing them. So that's a 25% increase in the homeless population in Houston if we weren't doing what we're doing. So what I'm trying to ask people is, if I told you that I had a machine that would lower the homeless rate in Houston by 25%, would you invest in that?
The important thing to remember about homelessness is that it's wrong. It simply shouldn't exist, not here, in Houston, not anywhere. It's also important to remember the number of people that we have living in the city who are living paycheck to paycheck and could be living meal to meal. That includes a teacher's aide who's earning $19,000 a year, people who are working 2 jobs or 3 jobs, a beginning police officer, a beginning firefighter. Those jobs, as people are getting a toehold into the middle class, are still not affording an income large enough that you aren't at risk of disruption in your life.
For the first time in a long time, first time in my lifetime, affordable housing has become a really significant issue. It starts out in San Francisco where they have all these people that theoretically have great jobs and are making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, but they can't afford to live there.
In order to solve incredibly complex social issues, we have to think about the complex social systems that need to be organized very intentionally in order to produce the collective impact that we're looking for. New Hope Housing is at the core of that in providing the housing itself and coupling all of the other social activities with that housing in a single platform to produce a much more holistic result.
Permanent supportive housing is relatively new to Houston. There are rental supports. Units are subsidized so that individuals are paying a percentage of their income. And then there are wraparound services so that people can be stable. New Hope Housing is Houston's leading provider of permanent supportive housing.
This is not a simple business. It's harder by far than a typical development business. I know a fair amount about that, and I can promise you that this is a whole lot harder. We can appreciate the fact that a lot of people will see affordable housing, particularly permanent supportive housing like we build, for the homeless and near homeless, and be worried about what that's going to mean to their community.
The challenge with the housing is that many times the community at large doesn't understand the individuals that are coming to live there. They simply see them as the other that I don't understand, the other that I want far away from me. They're productive Houstonians, someone's loved one, someone's son, father, brother, sibling, employee, and so we can't lose sight of that. If not, we lose as a society. Yeah.
Even though it may come with some challenges, I wholeheartedly support affordable housing in my neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in anyone's neighborhood that would help these individuals live a more whole and healthy life.
Yes, so can we talk health and not health care? Because that's really the connection between housing. It's housing and health. It's not housing and health care. What we know from decades of research is that health care only accounts for about 20% of health outcomes. And what really influences a person's health are all the social determinants of health and all the other factors in their lives, like safety, like community building. like housing.
Having a stable place to live, having a foundation from which to launch from is what positions us to handle everything that life has to throw. And when we don't have those things, it really takes a substantial toll.
Stable housing, education, employment, living above poverty allows you to make choices about where you live and the environments in which you operate, which will inevitably result in better health and then less need for all of the reactive services that we invest in.
We know that about 4,100 individuals in the Houston area are homeless, and that about 25% of those are families. So really providing services and intervening for especially families to buffer that family from the toxic stress that can disrupt educational outcomes is crucial. You're leaving so much on the table financially and human potential-wise if you don't intervene early, because it is the most critical time. And if you do intervene early, you're reaping those benefits both economically, and you're giving that family the best chance to disrupt cycles of intergenerational poverty.
There are so many compounding factors that play into that. Housing instability, issues at home, unreliable transportation. If we can think about how we can systematically place families in a safe environment, provide them wraparound services, provide them stability, we're already removing so many barriers to success for families and kids.
Realistically, pragmatically, we can't house all of the citizens of Houston who need affordable housing in a single-family home. It's important that New Hope continues to develop multifamily housing, because when you house a young family, you're investing in the future.
When you think about our clientele, they are primarily the single person on the street. And that person you can help. That's our mission. But this is different. This is different. Now we've got children, and so we can see the possibility of breaking the cycle of poverty in which their parents have found themselves.
One of the things that New Hope is clear on is that we are building community, and the spaces have to work in a dignified way. Not only the room, but all the spaces need to work in a dignified way. Val started that out with her two-story lobby at Canal Street. When we walked into that, it was like, oh, I've arrived.
I want to say this again about New Hope is, as you walk into one of their developments, the first thing you realize is that it's peaceful. And most of their developments have a courtyard in the middle. And that's somewhat expensive because you're building a square around a courtyard. But what that means for the residents is they have a place to go. They get to talk to other residents. To me, yeah, the courtyard is a community.
We still cling to the idea that architecture matters, that it can be ennobling, that it can change lives, and that people live up to the quality of their surroundings.
Of course, beauty is an aspect of quality, and so is being green. Our properties are LEED certified. Most of them are LEED Platinum. That's important for durability. Our buildings need to look good for decades. Our funders expect that, and we expect that, and neighborhoods should expect it as well. If you say, welcome New Hope, come on in and build something, you need to be confident that what we build is going to be beautiful in 10 years and is going to continue to serve the neighborhood and serve it well.
I was not here at the beginning of this organization, but the intent was to certainly alleviate homelessness in at least a small way. As we got further into it, we realized that was not the heart of the problem. So it's changed over time. The mission has changed as we've understood it better. We talk about ourselves, in fact, as a 100-year organization, but I would like to think that we are now a permanent part of the city of Houston. There will always be housing issues. There will always be needs. We intend to always be here.